9 young people fled into the frozen darkness of a Soviet mountain. They cut their way out of a tent from the inside. They left behind their boots, their coats, and every instinct meant to keep them alive. Some would be found barefoot in temperatures colder than -30 degrees Celsius. Some with bones shattered as if struck by enormous force. Some without eyes, one without a tongue. And the official conclusion would quietly state that they died due to a force they could not overcome. But what that force was, and why it made experienced hikers behave in ways that defy human logic, remains unanswered to this day. And this is only the beginning. In January of 1959, the Soviet Union was a nation obsessed with strength, progress, and control, a place where weakness was hidden, mistakes were buried, and silence was often safer than truth. The Cold War was tightening its grip on the world, and deep within the Soviet interior, beyond cities and headlines, vast regions of land existed where military activity, secret testing, and restricted zones blurred into the wilderness. The Ural Mountains were one such place, remote, unforgiving, and rarely questioned. For young Soviet citizens, outdoor expeditions were not only recreation, but proof of discipline, endurance, and ideological strength, a way to demonstrate loyalty to the idea that humans could conquer nature through planning and willpower alone. And among the most respected hiking communities in the country was the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Sverdlovsk. This is where the story truly begins. They were not reckless thrill seekers. They were trained, certified, methodical. Each member of the expedition had completed multiple high-difficulty treks before, surviving harsh winters and remote terrain without incident. At the center was Igor Dyatlov, age 23, an engineering student known for his calm leadership and meticulous planning. A man trusted not because he demanded authority, but because others naturally followed him. With him were students and graduates, men and women in their early 20s, each carrying personal reasons for joining the journey. Some for certification, some for adventure, some simply for the quiet clarity that only extreme isolation could provide. Their goal was Mount Otorten, a remote peak deep in the northern Urals, and the route they chose placed the expedition firmly in the highest difficulty classification recognized by Soviet hiking authorities. They knew the risks, and they accepted them willingly. What they could not anticipate was that none of their training had prepared them for what awaited. On January 23rd, the group departed by train, spirits high, documenting their journey with photographs and journals, laughing, posing, and writing with the confidence of people who expected to return. The early days unfolded as planned. Villages gave way to forest, forests gave way to snow-covered emptiness. On January 27th, the group reached the last inhabited settlement, where they were seen by locals and warned, quietly, about the land ahead. The indigenous Mansi people considered certain areas sacred or dangerous, or both, not because of superstition, but because survival in that environment demanded respect. The group continued anyway. By January 28th, one member, Yuri Yudin, turned back due to illness. It would save his life. The remaining 9 pressed on into terrain that grew colder, steeper, and more exposed with each passing hour. And on February 1st, they made a decision that would define everything that followed. Instead of descending to a forested area for shelter, the group chose to camp on the open slope of Kholat Syakhl, a name that translates ominously as Mountain of the Dead. The decision has been debated for decades. Some argue it was a navigational error caused by worsening weather. Others believe it was a deliberate challenge, a way to practice emergency camping techniques. But what matters is this: they were exposed. The wind was relentless, and night fell quickly. Inside the tent, they ate, wrote in journals, and prepared for sleep. There is no evidence of panic, no signs of distress. And then, Sometime after nightfall, something happened. Something so sudden, so terrifying that 9 experienced hikers reacted in a way that defies every survival instinct they possessed. The tent was not opened normally, it was slashed open from the inside. This detail alone shattered every logical explanation from the very beginning, because it meant the danger was not outside the tent, it was perceived to be inside, or imminent, or unavoidable. They fled without boots, without coats, without time. They did not take weapons, they did not take supplies. They ran downhill into darkness, barefoot in the snow, toward the tree line. Whatever they believed was happening, they believed staying in the tent meant certain death, and that belief was powerful enough to override pain, cold, and reason. What history never explained was this: what could frighten 9 trained hikers so deeply that freezing to death seemed like the safer option? The first bodies were found weeks later near the edge of the forest. 2 lay beneath a large cedar tree, barefoot, wearing only underwear, their hands burned and scarred, as if they had tried desperately to climb the tree or start a fire. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were discovered, positioned as if they were attempting to return uphill. They froze mid-journey. But the remaining 4 were missing, and the injuries already visible told investigators that this was not a simple case of exposure. Something else had happened here, and the worst discoveries were still to come. When the snow finally melted months later, searchers found the remaining 4 bodies in a ravine, partially buried under meters of ice and debris. Their injuries were catastrophic: crushed ribs, shattered skulls, internal trauma comparable to a high-speed vehicle collision. Yet their skin showed no external wounds consistent with such force. No cuts, no bruises. One woman was missing her tongue, another was missing her eyes, and some clothing items showed traces of radiation. The bodies told a story of violence without an attacker, force without impact, and death without explanation. And the official investigation had no answers, only conclusions. The case was quietly closed. The final report stated that the hikers died due to a compelling natural force. No clarification was provided, no further investigation allowed. Files were classified, witnesses were silenced, families were given vague explanations and warned not to ask questions. In the Soviet Union, unanswered questions were not mistakes, they were policy. But decades later, when the files were declassified, the mystery only deepened, because nothing in the records explained the behavior, or the injuries, or the fear. Avalanche, the most official explanation, but the slope angle, snow conditions, and tent position contradict it, and the tent remained partially standing, not crushed, not crammed. Military testing. Reports of glowing orange lights in the sky that night, seen by locals and other hikers, suggest experimental weapons or missile activity. Infrasound, a rare wind phenomenon that can induce panic, nausea, and terror without visible cause. Radiation, clothing contamination remains unexplained. Animal attack, no tracks, no signs. Unknown human involvement, no evidence, no footprints. Each theory explains part of the story, none explain all of it, and that is what keeps this case alive. The Dyatlov Pass Incident is not just a mystery of death, it is a lesson in uncertainty. It reveals how quickly order collapses when fear overrides logic, and how easily truth can disappear when institutions choose silence over truth. In recent years, renewed investigations have attempted to close the case once and for all, but even now, the conclusions rely on probabilities, not certainty. And the mountain remains unchanged, cold, silent, watching. 9 people went into the mountains with confidence, experience, and trust in their understanding of the world. None of them came back. What happened on that slope was not just an accident, it was a moment where something unknown intersected with human fear, and the result was chaos, confusion, and irreversible loss. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved, not because there are no theories, but because none fully explain why intelligent, capable people chose the impossible over the unbearable. And perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: whatever forced them into the night was never clearly seen, only felt. And if history teaches us anything, it is that the most dangerous forces are not always visible. Sometimes they arrive without warning and leave without answers.